So what I'm going to do here is add 1 cup of wholemeal flour. It's already been triple sifted, but I'm going to sift it one more time and still use the grain that is left in the sieve. So we just sift it as much as we can, just so we can get a nice soft flour. You'll see there's still some grain left there, you see. However, we still want that grain because it is high in fibre and it's good for us and all of those things, even though we are making a fairly high potent protein bar with butter and sugars and things like that. So that's our flour. Now we have the protein powder, which I showed you before. I'm going to use the cup that's in the protein powder itself. It's not the actual measuring cup that we're using. So I'm also going to sift this just to get it, the clumps out, although you know it is quite a sticky powder. So sift it on top of the wholemeal flour as much as you can. I think I'm going to use 2 cups rather than just 1. So let's do that. 2 cups of protein powder of your choice. This one is a vanilla flavour. As you know in my previous guides, I like to use vanilla essence a lot in my biscuits and cakes. However, because this has already got vanilla, I'm not going to do that. So all your powders and all your dry goods should be in first. So I also like roasted sesame, so I'm going to put about a handful, a fairly big handful of roasted sesame into the flour and protein powder mix. And I have this, I've used it once before in one of my other dishes. So we add 1 box of apricot and sultanas. Sultanas are raisins or dried grapes. So we add that to the mix while our butter is melting. Make sure you don't burn the butter also. So now what I have here is a cup of coffee. So what I'm going to do is actually put the coffee into the dry mix before I put the butter in. I'm going to use two small cups, and we mix about 120 grams of melted butter. Before we do that, I have golden syrup. So try and gauge around 2 tablespoons of golden syrup. You can use molasses or corn syrup for this dish. It's just to hold it together and give it a little bit of a burnt sugar taste. So once you've added your molasses or golden syrup, we want to add the butter in before we add the oats, because we want the oats to stay a little bit dry before putting it in the oven. So we've done that, and we give that a mix. Mix it up as much as you can. It's almost going to be like a runny dough. We don't want it too dry, especially because you've got protein powder, you've got the wholemeal flour 1 cup, and then you just have to gauge as to how runny your mixture is going to be by just stirring, and just keep stirring it. My mix is probably probably too runny, so if that happens, you can add some more flour. But before I check for the runniness of my dough, I want to actually put the oats in, because the oats may soak up some of the liquid. So we're going to use 2 full cups of toasted muesli or rolled oats. It's quite a lot, so that's 1 cup. So give that a stir first, and you'll find that it's quite thick already. So just keep stirring. I'm not satisfied with the thickness of that. It's just going to become a gooey mess in the oven. So what I'm going to do is first add 1 more cup of rolled oats or muesli. Not exactly 1 cup, but more or less 1 cup, and mix it through. I think it's going to be thick enough, but what we're going to do is just mix it through, keep mixing it, and you'll find that they're like quite clumpy. So we are going to add 1 extra cup of flour, I think, just to be on the safe side. We want it to be quite thick and not so gooey. You can do one other thing and add peanut butter if you want to go that extra step. So that's what we've got so far. So coming back to this again, I'm not actually so happy with the texture of the mix. So it's gooey and it's sticky, and there's lots of sugar and syrup and so on. So we want it to actually stick together a little bit more firmer. So what we do is we add another cup of, let's say half a cup of flour, sorry, just to be sure that we don't actually end up with a rock hard mix. So just again, we're going to gauge it according to you know, the texture. So it's still gooey, it's still runny. We need it to be a little bit firmer, especially, and also you're going to bake it, so we want a little bit of a biscuit, a crunchy biscuit type recipe. So here we go. So it just smells absolutely divine. The protein and the coffee. You can add cinnamon if you want to. It's up to you what kind of extra flavoring you want to put in it. I'm still thinking it's not thick enough, so don't be scared to use some of the mess you've made. There's some extra muesli that fell out of the bag before. Try not to waste anything. So it's starting to look more like a biscuit dough, a bit more crumbly, a little bit more rough. So this is what we want. So what we're going to do is we're going to mix it through so that you don't see any more flour on the sides of the dish, and it's becoming very hard to stir, which is good. And there is our oat and protein bar with coffee and sultanas and apricots, sesame seeds and wholemeal flour. So we're back here again, and we've got our muesli bar mix. I use aluminium foil in my cooking, not baking paper. It's just a personal preference. There's no right or wrong way to what you do with your cooking trays, but I just find that aluminium foil is a lot easier to work with, and you know, when you use the heat elements, it maybe reflects. Look guys, I'm just an amateur chef. I don't have any qualifications or any degree in culinary arts, so I just like to experiment, and I see people do certain dishes, and I start to think of what would taste good together, and I just think this, you know, as a health alternative, you can use this dish, this recipe, you know, for your breakfast. Even as a light snack, just have a small piece, and there we have it. So push it into the tray as tight as you can. Push it to the sides. So there we have it. There's our slice, and we're going to put it in the oven for about half an hour on 180 degrees Celsius. Guys, please preheat your oven before you put the tray inside. And once it's out of the oven, this is what we get. It is a little bit brown, but I like to have my biscuits a little bit extra crispy and crunchy. So when you take it out, you can just let it cool for a little while and then cut it into slices. Hope you enjoyed this guide, and look forward to doing another recipe for you next time.